Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bonnie Wise, and I'm the Hillsborough County Administrator, and I really hope first that everyone stays safe today. I was able to survey the county in a helicopter earlier this morning, and after consultation with the emergency managers and the sheriff, I am lifting the evacuation order for Zone A and B. Though the orders are lifted, damage is widespread and extensive. There are flooded roads and downed power lines and trees. Please exercise caution. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Emergency Management Director Tim Dudley to give you an update.
Thank you, ma'am. Afternoon, folks. Tim Dudley, Hillsborough County Office of Emergency Management. The county still remains under a state of emergency. Emergency responders have been throughout the county, continue to make high water rescues and any other emergency calls that have come into our warning points. First responders have been saving lives and clearing roads throughout the night. Crews continue to assess damages throughout the county. We're seeing down power lines, a lot of trees down, and we are still seeing some flooded areas. Even though the order's been lifted for evacuation zones A and B to include all mobile and manufactured homes, we still need you to be aware that the university area, Plant City, Palm River, and Town and Country still has flood waters in very dangerous areas. So please proceed with caution as you move back into those areas. Make sure you avoid driving in any floodwaters, wading in any of the floodwaters. You know the saying, turn around, don't drown. Watch for down power lines. We have a number of lines down, quite a few folks without power, and we'll hear about where we stand with power. And residents are asked to reduce water use and prevent sewage backup. If you experience low water pressure or service of interruption, you should boil your water. Go to hcfl.gov/boil-water or call 833-HC-STORM or 833-427-8676 to find out any additional information to help you with recovery and transitioning from the impacts of the storm. Be careful with cleanup around your homes. We see a lot of accidents happen and potential deaths after folks are in a rush to get out there and begin the cleanup process. Very dangerous. You still may have some hanging limbs as you're trying to clear that debris and trees from off your property. So make sure you're being aware of any of the little critters and all the dangerous type of critters that we have around here in Florida. They're trying to find their way back to where they want to be safely. If your home is in a storm, if your home is storm damaged and you don't have a place to stay, call HC Storm for information and our helpline at 833-427-8676. Again, if you need any assistance, please don't hesitate to reach out so that we can help you as much as possible. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. For those who don't know who I am, Archie Collins, the President and CEO of Tampa Electric, of TECO. First of all, I just want to thank all of the elected officials, community partners who are gathered here today. This is a time, the aftermath of a storm of the magnitude of Milton is really a time for the community to come together and for all partners to work cooperatively to try to do what we need to do to prioritize the safety of the residents, and in my case, obviously, to restore power as quickly as possible. I just first wanted to say that I just wanted to acknowledge the fact that as we sit here currently, we've got 590,000 customers, Tampa Electric's customers without power. To put that into perspective, we have 850,000 customers, so it's a large portion of our customer base that is without power. And I just want to give assurance to customers that now that you know, we have our resources out there. We are beginning the process of working 24/7 to first sort of assess the damage that we're dealing with and then try to figure out how best to put it all back together. I do want to acknowledge those individuals who have been impacted by Milton, whether that is because of the excessive rain and the localized flooding which has been experienced, or wind damage to homes. I've seen trees down on homes. We've got some employees whose homes have been compromised. And so I just, you know, certainly at TECO, we're thinking about all of those individuals. I just wanted to explain, I just wanted to communicate to all of you what it is that we prepared for. What we prepared for at Tampa Electric, people have heard me say this before, that we can never afford to get this wrong. And what we prepared for was a direct hit from a Category 4 hurricane that would make a direct landing in Tampa Bay and would come with a very significant storm surge. And so we resourced accordingly. You've seen the press releases where we've said we have 6,000 utility workers that we have assembled to support the restoration that is in front of us. In the 7 years that I have been here, I cannot remember any other hurricane that I have been involved with that has involved more than 3,500 utility workers. So it just gives you a sense of the size of the force that we have amassed, larger than any utility force that we've ever assembled, and what we were prepared for. The good news is, at least for Tampa Bay residents, the good news is the eye made landfall about 35 miles to our south down in Siesta Key. So as a result of that, we didn't get the surge that so many of us feared if you live anywhere around the coastal Tampa Bay area. The bad news associated with that is for anyone who watched Dennis Phillips as much as I did yesterday, you know that the northern eye wall of this system was where all the rain was and where all the heaviest winds were. And we got all of that. I don't know how much rain we ultimately did get, but we have a lot of localized flooding out there. It's got nothing to do with the surge. It just has to do with the 18 to 20 inches of rain or whatever it is that we received in such a short period of time. That amount of rain landing on the ground, coupled with those strong winds, ultimately it just softens up the ground, and you start seeing some of that overhead infrastructure beginning to sway in the wind. At this point today, what we're doing really is just all triage. Right? We've got all of our resources out there just riding the system, trying to get a sense of what exactly are we dealing with. We have helicopters in the air going up and down the transmission grid, which is the backbone of our system, trying to get a sense of what's out on the transmission grid and what can we quickly put back in. Over the next 24 hours, you're going to really see our resources ramped up. The resources that we have brought in from out of state, for the most part, were marshaled to the north of us to ride out the hurricane. They were up in mostly around Valdosta, Georgia, and so they are now all arriving. And we're beginning to put the 7 base camps together where they will be housed and fed and where we will coordinate the restoration. I just want all of our customers to know, and I want everyone who's assembled here to know that TECO is very committed to this community. We completely understand that the continuity of electric supply is foundational to just a functioning society and a burgeoning economy. And we are committed. We have the resources. We're going to need a little bit of patience from our customers and from our community partners, but we will get this system restored in short order. It's just, we just need a little bit of time today to sort of work through the triaging. So thank you very much for your understanding on all that. I think up next is Hillsborough County Colonel Anthony Collins.
Yeah. Chief Deputy, but-
Thank you, sir. Good evening. On behalf of Sheriff Chad Cronson and nearly 4,000 men and women, tireless men and women of the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, we are so honored and humble to serve our community, but more so, we're even honored and humble to do so with our local, state, and federal partners that you see standing behind me. As soon as we were able to resume operations about 2:30 this morning, our deputies in collaboration with Hillsborough County Fire Rescue went out with all the assets and resources, our numerous SHRPs, our numerous airboats, all the other resources we have, the 500 deputies that we brought in addition to the other deputies who are already on work, already on staff, went out and started executing rescue operations. Already going out to the various areas, primarily in the university area, which is the uptown side of town. We saw substantial flooding in that area. And more specific, there was an ALF where there was over 100 residents of the ALF who many of them were in wheelchairs or bedridden, who were unable to get out in time for the storm to get here. No knock on them. They weren't even in an evacuation zone. So we gave the evacuation order to get out. Our community heard us. And even in this instant, the storm took over and found people in areas that we hadn't even planned on having substantial flooding. But our community was great. And in our area, we continue to see some of the flooding over in the town and country area, down in our southern area and our New Tampa area as well. Just be patient with us. Our first responders are working as hard as they can. There's multiple downed trees. We can't get to them as soon as possible because we don't know if a lot of those trees are commingled with electrical wire. We don't know if those wires are live or if they're inactive. So just please be patient with us. There's a lot of traffic control devices that are inoperable, whether there's lack of power or they've been blown off the wires. So when you get to those intersections, just treat it as a four-way stop. For those people who feel like they're going to victimize our community during this time of a state of emergency, we won't allow it to happen. And not only won't we won't allow it to happen, we will hold those individuals accountable, and we'll work with our partner, State Attorney Susie Lopez, to ensure that those individuals stay where they need to be. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Colonel Collins. So my name is Jason Dougherty. I'm Hillsborough County Fire Rescue Chief. So I'll share some of the same information that Colonel Collins shared, but obviously the conditions now are much better than they were yesterday evening going into early this morning. But with that, conditions we still have a lot of water on the roads. We have trees down everywhere. We have electrical lines down everywhere. So I need to encourage the public to still be safe. I know we lit the evacuation order. We want you to be able to get back to your homes, but you got to do it in a safe manner. The last thing we want is have an unintended death or a significant serious injury. And I can happy to share and report right now we've had no confirmed deaths from this storm. But I think a lot of that goes into the preparation that the community did and heeding the warning and evacuating as we asked and going to shelter. So I want to thank all the community for being resilient and listening to all the partners up here and what we shared over the last few days. As far as Hillsborough County Fire Rescue, we did shut down operations from 9 o'clock last night till 3 o'clock this morning. During that time, we held 356 calls. To put that in perspective, Hillsborough County Fire Rescue has never held that many calls at one time. What that means is this storm was still very serious. Even though we dodged the bullet, as per se, and we didn't get the Cat 4 directly into the mouth of Tampa Bay, we still had a tremendous storm upon us, causing us to hold those calls. We have, in the going back in service, we were able to clear those calls, and currently, Hillsborough County Fire Rescue has rescued over 725 people, 128 pets in flood-prone areas, and we've done that with our tactical search and rescue teams and also our SHRP units that we just recently acquired, working with the Sheriff's Office when they had Hurricane Helene. We saw what a great asset that was, so Hillsborough County Fire Rescue was able to procure those, and we had 4 of those out, and they're currently still serving the community and making rescues. We're also continually making assessments of the community with our RNAT teams. That's our rapid needs assessment teams. And as we continue to look at what challenges we may have within the community. Lastly, I'd like to thank the men and women of Hillsborough County Fire Rescue and our partners with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. These folks, these men and women did an incredible job and continue to do an incredible job in very challenging environments, while their families are at home, worried about them, not only about them, but taking care of their homes. So to the men and women of Hillsborough County Fire Rescue and Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, thank you for what you do. With that, I'm gonna move to, who do we have next? It looks like Mayor Jane Castor.
All right. All right. Thank you, Chief. Milton had the potential to be a storm of historic proportions. We all know that. And when I say we, I mean from the President of the United States to the Governor of Florida to the elected officials that are standing behind you, had a consistent request, and that was please evacuate the areas that were in the storm's path, specifically the ones that were in the path of that potential 12 to 15-foot storm surge. And you did that. And we can't thank you enough for doing that. I think that one of the reasons you did it is because you trusted your local officials. You trusted that we were going to keep your property safe while you were gone, and that we were going to get you back into your residences as quickly as we possibly could. So I thank everybody behind us for working collaboratively to get that done. So we are on the other side of Milton. We didn't get that storm of historic proportion. And for those down in Siesta Key and our neighbors south, we stand ready. Our prayers, thoughts and prayers are with you, and we stand ready to assist you as well. But we did see historic winds here in the community and also rainfall. The airport was 1 mile away from the highest wind speed ever recorded at that location. It's my understanding that the city of St. Petersburg received more rainfall from Milton than they have in any recorded month of October. We received almost 13 inches of rain just in Robles Park in the city of Tampa and many other locations as well. So we have a lot of work to do, but we need you to do your part as well. As was stated, TECO has massive outages. Kind of joke, everybody behind me may think I'm smelling like an arsonist because I just had to go gas up and start a generator for one of my sisters. But we have to help each other. We're going to get the electricity back on, but you also have to be cognizant of those down lines and make sure, again, that you are helping take care of your neighbors. Based on the electrical outages, 65% of the traffic lights are out in the city of Tampa. So I can only imagine what that is in all of Hillsborough County. So be safe out there on the streets. Treat any traffic light that's out as a four-way stop. And don't be in a hurry. Actually, don't be out unless you have to be. So please, we'll get the electricity back up as quickly as we can. Our Parks and Recreation teams are out there. They're already removing the trees from the roadways. Our stormwater team is assessing. We did have some unprecedented flooding over off of Del Mabry by Raymond James Stadium. If you had seen, I went out and did a helicopter tour of the city, just as my good friend Bonnie Weiss did, as soon as the sun came up this morning. And as I flew over Al Lopez Park, it looked like a lake at that location. Also, out on Fowler, there's some unprecedented by the University Square area. So we did have flooding based on the rain. We just didn't get the storm surge that we expected. So our groups are out there. We didn't have any issues in the city of Tampa with wastewater, the overflows that we saw with Helene. We had 60 of our 220 pumping stations went without electricity. So our teams went out in the middle of the night and use generators to force that water down the gravity-fed pipes. So we haven't had any issues with that, nor have we had issues with water. So we're doing good in those two areas. So our solid waste teams are out there. The contractors have shown up, and we are out there picking up debris. In the city of Tampa, we're going to start where we left off. The debris that we didn't pick up from Davis Islands and South Tampa, we're going to start at those locations first. We're going to pick up the yard debris. There's going to be a bunch of it. Every neighborhood is covered. I'm not sure there's a tree that has all the leaves it started with 24 hours ago. So there's a lot of debris out there, and we'll be picking all of that up as well. Fortunately, we didn't see the anticipated storm surge, so that that household waste didn't become the weapons that we were afraid they were going to become. So we're out there. City of Tampa is out there doing everything that we can. We're working still hand in hand with the federal, state, and local officials to make sure that we are addressing all the needs that you have. We'll be working with Hillsborough County to set up some pods, especially for those individuals that are still without electricity. With the shelters, thanks to the Hillsborough County and the Hillsborough County school system, our shelters in the schools here in the city of Tampa still have well over 1,000 individuals that are sheltering, and those are locations that don't have generators. So we're doing all we can to get people back into their residence, getting them back up on their feet. We've gotten a lot of calls from people that want to help, because that is Tampa and Tampa Bay. People want to help out their neighbors. So if you want to register for the city of Tampa, go to tampa.gov/help Tampa, and we'll get you signed up. But just remember to be kind, be patient, and we will get things back up and running in the city of Tampa. Thank you all, and God bless. All right, now it's Nate Kilton.
I'm Nate Kilton, Mayor of the great city of Plant City. We were very well prepared for this event, and it's a good thing that we were. This was really an unexpected rain event for us in Plant City. I've been told that we had 15 to 17 inches. There were parts of town that have had significant flooding that have never had any problems before. It's heartbreaking to me to see, some of these communities and some of these folks that, have their homes underwater now. Thankfully, though, in our preparation and collaboration, I want to thank Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office and Hillsborough County Fire Rescue. With their assistance, we were able to rescue almost 100 people last night and today. So the floodwaters are very serious in Plant City. I want people to make sure that they're staying away from it. Some of these areas, the water's flowing very fast. There could be dangerous debris in it. Water's still anecdotally starting to climb in some areas, I'm being told. So if you are in a low area and you haven't left, you may need to think about doing that. Stay away from the water, be safe. We don't know how long it's going to take to recede, and definitely don't try to drive through it. We've seen too much of that happening already. Just stay home, take care of your homes, take care of your neighbors, stay off the roads for first responders, and so that the power can get back on. We were after it right away this morning. As soon as the wind receded, our teams and crews were out clearing roads, and our debris folks will be out there early next week. We want to have everybody have the weekend to be able to put things out by the road so that we can be effective and efficient with our pickup. But we know it's going to be a big chore to get that done. So we've hired extra contractors that will be coming in to assist with that. It's going to be a massive effort. So we just ask you to be patient with us, but we will get it done as quickly as we possibly can. I am encouraged from what I have seen around town. Neighbor helping neighbor, many calls from citizens asking how they can help, and that's very encouraging. And that's really how we're going to get through this the best, is if we all can roll up our sleeves and lend a hand and just make sure we get everybody back on their feet as quickly as possible. We also want to make sure that people are limiting their water usage. We do have stress on our wastewater treatment facility just because of the massive water event that we've had. So please limit your water usage and just take care of each other. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Temple Terrace Mayor Andy Ross. First of all, to the public, I would like to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I think the vast majority of people in our community heeded the evacuation warnings. They listened to the advice given by our emergency management staff, and it paid off. We have no deaths reported in Hillsborough County as a result of this storm, but it's also paid off in terms of our ability to enter the recovery phase of this, the response to this. Traffic is very light. As my friend Mayor Kilton mentioned, neighbors are out helping neighbors. The public has done a terrific job with this, and I can't thank you enough for that. So I do want to mention that we're not through this yet. The storm has passed, but we have a lot of work to do, and we need your patience. This is not going to happen by Saturday. This is going to take some time, and we know that right now you are inconvenienced. We in Temple Terrace, I believe Hillsborough County, we have boil water notices out. This is for your safety. It's in the abundance of caution. We know that the asking you to limit the wastewater and how often you flush your toilets and do your dishes and stuff, we know that that's inconvenient, but you have heeded our advice so far, and it has worked very, very well. All of you who are hearing this are alive, and so please stay with us, stay the course. We need your patience. We know that TECO will restore power as quickly, where'd he go? There he is. As quickly as possible. We know that the water boiling is inconvenient. We know being without electricity is inconvenient. We know that not driving around to your favorite place to go get a latte is inconvenient. But please stay the course with us. Give us a few days, and we will work and get this done. We will recover. Your property will be restored. Your energy will be restored. All of this will be repaired. But we need you to be patient, and I know that's going to be difficult in the next coming days. You're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to be hot. You're going to be not used to taking your regular 20-minute showers and that kind of thing, and so that's going to take a toll in the next few days. But we've talked about this over the last week about how to prepare for that, the things to do to stay focused, don't let anxiety overcome you. You've done a terrific job. Just stay with us, and I will tell you that nobody in this country does this better than the Tampa Bay region. And we know each other, we work well together, not just when there's an emergency. There is no community in the country that does this better than we do it. So just please take a dose of patience, stick with us, continue to fight the fight, and we will get through this. And thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I think it was 4 days ago, this crew was together warning Tampa Bay about what could be, and this was a monster storm. And while Tampa Bay did not see the surge that we feared, the amount of water and the power and the winds, especially on the north side of the storm, there were over 100 tornado warnings across the state of Florida, almost 30 cited tornadoes. We know that there will be loss of life. But I can say, and I will echo what Mayor Castor said so wisely on Sunday, a storm like this, an emergency like this, it demands working relationships. And it is no coincidence that behind me, you don't just see the sheriff's office, and you don't just see a commissioner, you don't just see a legislator, you don't just see mayors. This truly is a hand-in-hand working relationship from beginning to end. And I just want to commend every single person standing behind me that has carried Tampa Bay through the storm and will help us in our recovery efforts. And let me also echo the thanks to all Floridians who heeded the warnings to evacuate in the areas of concern. We know that instinctually is hard to do because of concerns for property and family. I've personally spoken with sheriffs and emergency coordinators and administrators and has said we need to get people back into their homes as soon as possible. And I can assure you, after my discussions with sheriffs, police chiefs, state attorneys, including State Attorney Susie Lopez, your property, if anyone tries to come in, especially during this declared state of emergency, bad actors and criminals will be held accountable. This is a law and order state, and we take this very seriously. And so I want to thank all of the first responders, whether you are fire engine red or blue line blue or even green. We appreciate you. We know that you have been out there all night ever since the storm passed. I can tell you, as the wife of a law enforcement officer, they're out there all night rescuing people. And the families, we're at home and they're out there rescuing people. That takes a very special person. And I want to say thank you to all of you who chose this incredible profession. And let me just say, finally, I personally was with Sheriff Gualtieri in Pinellas County after Helene passed. It was dark at night, not a lot of light out. People were concerned. Very specifically, There are anti-looting teams that are assembled, and they are in the communities, and they are showing their presence. And so do not fear. There will be a lot of law enforcement in your areas within the Tampa Bay area and across Florida. So know that even though your electricity is out, and that is sometimes very unnerving, they're working hard to get it back on. But while they do that, we are going to work overtime, making sure we have a very strong law enforcement presence in your communities, and that it is very visible and obvious that we have law enforcement in your communities. During a declared state of emergency, there are enhanced criminal penalties. And I know that our hardworking state attorneys across this state will make sure that those are enforced. So thank you again, all of Florida, for pulling together and working through this. And as I watched this morning in many areas that were flooded that have never been flooded, and watched homes submerged with water, roads that are now rivers, farms that are now lakes, it is certainly heartbreaking. But what has been inspiring and uplifting is watching first thing before the sun even came up, somebody was very experienced with a chainsaw, put on boots and shorts and start walking to the trees. And that is truly the definition of neighbor helping neighbor. And just as neighbor helps neighbor, agency will help agency, officer will help officer, and we'll get through this stronger, Florida. Thank you so much. And I believe our esteemed emergency management director will now come up to take any questions.
Thank you. I'd like to take the opportunity, a lot of folks thanked everybody, and I'd like to take the opportunity to thank all our local, state, federal partners, and all the personnel that's been working here in the Emergency Operations Center, and will continue to work in the Emergency Operations Center until we can provide that critical support and make sure we meet all your unmet needs. Also like to thank Commissioner Gwen Myers, Commissioner Pat Kemp, State Representative Diane Hart, and State Attorney Susie Lopez, and all the other leaders that spoke up here today, and the leaders that's not in attendance today, but out in the community. And mostly thank the community at large for doing what we asked you to do. Thank you for doing what we asked you to do during Helene and during this current event. And we're gonna do what we can for you moving forward. I'll open it up for any questions for folks here.
I have a few questions for President Collins. I don't know if that's possible. Thank you, sir. I just wanted to ask, is this the largest outage in TECO history?
As far as I know, it is.
When it comes to the biggest obstacles that you're going to face in getting power back on, can you just describe what some of those are, what your field crews are looking for, and then what would prevent them from being able to just turn power on right away?
The two predominant issues today that we would be dealing with is just large trees that are down on some of our overhead electrical infrastructure, and just so much standing water from the localized flooding, which is making access to some of our equipment more difficult than it otherwise would be.
What do you anticipate crews are going to be doing once you've made assessments? What are they going to be doing next? And then when can the first luckiest people see power turning back on?
Well, I'd certainly hope that we'd see the first luckiest people getting power back today. We have crews out there that are currently working on restoration on a circuit-by-circuit basis. The way that we go about restoration is, so you go through this triage phase that we're in today, and I dare say will spill in tomorrow. And what the teams are doing is, in a very logical sequence, first verifying that all of the generation is sound, because everything with electricity starts with you have to generate the electricity. Our generation is sound. We actually had made the decision prior to the arrival of Milton to idle our generation at both Big Bend and Bayside, our two coastal facing. They're both on Hillsborough Bay. And because of the threat of a significant storm surge, we just parked them. And when you park them, it makes it very easy to bring them back. So our generation is sound. The next phase of triage is to verify the integrity of the backbone of the electric system, which is the transmission system. And that's what's happening today. We have helicopters up in the air that are they are doing an aerial surveillance of the transmission system to verify that nothing has gone down. Actually, as I drove here and I was trying to come in the back entrance of Columbus, I could see a transmission circuit that actually is leaning over. It's in a lake. that's sitting over in Columbus. So that's one that the helicopter is clearly going to tell us you've got a problem right there. So it's the transmission. Then you're getting to the substations. We've got 241 substations. Every one of those except one is intact. We don't have any issues with the substation. And then it's going into the communities. And once you're going into the communities, the way we go about that restoration is we say it has to be, we kind of have 3 tiers to the restoration. First tier is anything that has to do with hospitals, fire stations, police stations, nursing homes, et cetera, get a higher priority for restoration. Sewage lift stations, I heard the mayor talk about that. Those will get a higher priority. Then there's a second tier, which is some of the critical infrastructure, things like the airport, for example, and other institutions like that. And then finally, you're getting into the residential community. And the way we go about that restoration is really the biggest bang for the buck as quickly as possible. So today and tomorrow is going to be heavy triage. By tomorrow night, I expect we're going to be able to come out with something much more definitive on exactly how long do we think it'll be before the bulk of customers are all going to have power back. But you will see over the course of today, that number of 590,000 beginning to drop. Some people, I know you didn't ask me this question, but I've heard this question a lot today. If you go to the outage map and look at it, the number bounces around. And some people are wondering why that is. And that's an indication that our crews are out there and they have gone into an area and they've identified something. They've identified a tree on line. In order to remove the tree, they may have to call back to the Energy Control Center and say, could you de-energize this line so we can safely remove it? So they remove the hazard and then say you can put the line back in. And so as through the course of this triage, you will see a bit of this up and down movement as the employees who are out there are trying to work safely.
Are there specific geographic areas that you've identified that the company feels as though may be able to get power sooner than some others?
I don't know the answer to that question. I still don't have all of the specifics, all the intelligence back from the folks who have gone into the field and are sort of performing the triage. That'll start coming back into us over the course of the day.
Sorry, you're just the unlucky one today with all these.
No problem.
It's all about power.
No problem.
I just want to ask, for people who are waiting, who want to know what they should do with their important equipment, air conditioners, higher voltage type stuff, are there things that they should and shouldn't be doing to be safe once the power infuses and turns back on?
No, there isn't anything that once the power comes back, it'll be a seamless process. If any homes, yeah, if any homes have been compromised, if any homes suffered water damage, anything along those lines, then it's really important for a homeowner to contact an electrician, verify the electrical integrity of what's in the home before we would throw the power on. But other than that, there isn't anything people need to do. You're welcome.
All right. Any further questions? All right. Thank you. Stay safe.